Chapter 5. When I was younger, in the 1960s, I had ridden a motorcycle a few times. But as I got older, got a job, and Paula and I started a family, the thought of a motorcycle faded into the past. But one night, Paula and I drove up to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. We had dinner, and on the way home, instead of taking the main highway, we decided to take some country roads home. As we drove on some winding country roads, surrounded by huge stalks of corn, it occurred to me, wouldn't it be great to have a motorcycle and just cruise these country roads? What a great way to spend a day, what do you think? Paula smiled and patted my arm. I think you're right. It would be great. I didn't know if she was humoring me or agreed with me. But the day stuck with us. For years I thought about that day, but our children were growing up, getting married, or going to college. The motorcycle seemed like just a daydream. Then in 2005, being in my mid-50s, I had a midlife crisis. I did find that motorcycle. I wanted to go home, talk it over with Paula, weigh the pros and cons, and come to a decision. But Paula and I always had our own way of doing things, so I had an idea on how to bring up the subject. I walked into the house and up to one of the bedrooms that we now used for an office when our oldest child had moved out. Paula was sitting at a desk against the wall, working on some bills. Working on the bills? I asked, although I knew the answer. Always, she replied. They never seem to stop. Well, I've got something to tell you. I blurted out, and not stopping, continued. I've found another love sort of true. I know you're going to think it's just a midlife crisis, very true, but this is for real. Paula never turned around, still working on the bills. That's nice, babe. I put out my hands. Wait, that's all there is to it? I pretend mock indignation. You're not going to yell, scream, or hit me in the head with something? Well, we have to pick up Logan, our oldest grandchild, after school today. I was going to make him macaroni and cheese. After I wash out the pot, I could hit you in the head with it. Would that make you feel better? I shrugged and pretended to be hurt. Well, a little. Oh, I'm leaving? Paula turned in her chair, laughing. Okay, so you finally found the motorcycle we can afford. Tell me about it. For years after our date and driving home on the backcountry roads, I had been talking about getting a bike. But, with a large family, that went on the back burner. Now, with a wedding and a graduation coming up, it seemed like it was never going to happen. But then I found a motorcycle on a lot. I checked with the mechanic, and he said that the bike ran well, but it had an ugly paint job and came with no accessories. The dealer wanted it off the lot. The price was right. I told Paula the story. She said we should get it. You've worked hard all your life. Paula said, get it now before the time runs out. When Paula mentioned time running out, I knew she wasn't talking about the availability of the motorcycle. Okay, great, I said, then stopped. Wait, how'd you know I was talking about a motorcycle when I said I'd found another love? Paula laughed. Babe, I know you so well, and I love you. You've been talking about this for over 20 years. I put a mock frown on my face and raised my right wrist to my forehead. So now, after all these years, you're taking me for granted. I think I could possibly be hurt. Paula just looked at me, stone-faced. Did you put down a deposit on the bike? Paula then turned back to the desk and started back on the bills. Because if you didn't put down a deposit, you're taking it for granted that the motorcycle will be waiting for you tomorrow. She kept writing, never turning back. I turned and started for the door. I turned back towards Paula. Love you, babe. You're the best. Paula never turned back. Still seated at the desk, she raised her right hand with the pen still in her fingers. True. Love you too. I did buy the motorcycle, and eventually made it look better. Paula and I enjoyed ourselves and rode as much as we were able to. With our children growing older, there were marriages, and then grandchildren. When we were asked to babysit, we tried to ride over on the bike. As the grandchildren grew older, there were baseball games, soccer games, and birthdays to attend. But, on Sundays, except for an occasional birthday party, it would be our time to ride. I had friends and people at work who asked me if I wanted to ride with them, but riding with Paula became our special thing. Paula and I rode west in Illinois or would ride north into Wisconsin, mainly taking the isolated country roads when we were able to. Paula and I enjoyed the country roads, with the slower speed and the countryside filled with farms and lots of corn. The peaceful surroundings and getting away from everything were a great recharge. But, mostly on the weekends, we would ride north. We would eventually wind up in Lake Geneva, just across the Wisconsin border, or Delavan, another place in Wisconsin where Paula liked the food. One of my greatest memories was riding home from Lake Geneva, on a country back road, with nothing around but farms, cornfields, and Paula and I on the bike. As the sun was setting and seemingly sitting on top of the cornstalks, we rode. Paula was dressed up, bike style, and she placed her arms around me, pressed her head into my back, and held me tight as the sun was setting. I glanced back quickly and saw that she had her eyes closed, with a gentle smile on her face. I said to myself that it doesn't get much better than this. It didn't. By 2016, Paula was not getting around much. She was tired most of the time and sat out on the back deck most of the time. For a person with Paula's spirit, it became a self-contained prison. The previous year, because of balance problems, Paula had fallen off her bicycle and was unable to ride with our grandchildren, something Paula loved. We had ridden the bike trails with our children and then our grandchildren for years. Now she was sent to therapy and balance classes. Nothing worked. I assumed that would be the end of our motorcycle rides as well. The motorcycle mostly sat in the garage, and I contemplated selling it. Every time Paula looked into the garage and saw the bicycles and the motorcycle, I think it beat down her spirit, little by little. But one Sunday afternoon, Paula said she wanted to ride up to Lake Geneva, have dinner, and watch the afternoon sun over the lake. I think part of it was to please me, but also to prove something to herself. I wasn't very enthusiastic about the idea and tried to talk her out of it. We could drive up in the car but still take the same back roads, but the more we talked, I saw the hurt look in her eyes. To not try, to not keep fighting, might have been worse than anything I could imagine. I gave in, and we went out to the garage. With apprehension, I helped her get on and off the motorcycle a couple of times. "See," she announced, "I'm fine. Let's ride." We rode up to Lake Geneva and pulled into a restaurant with a large deck overlooking the lake, a great view. I parked and quickly got off the motorcycle, and then attempted to help Paula get off, something, over the years, we had done hundreds of times. But this time Paula was unable to move her right leg, and she started to cry. I walked over, held her with my left arm and with my right hand, tried to gently move her right back leg over the seat. Suddenly, all the strength in her left leg gave way. Paula screamed, and with her balance completely gone, fell back against the motorcycle, knocking it over. I was able to hold Paula up, but the motorcycle crashed down onto the parking lot pavement. Paula was terrified, but with my help we walked to the restaurant deck and I sat her down. With Paula by the railing where I could see her, I raced back to the parking lot. With the assistance of another rider, I was able to get the motorcycle up. I checked for damage. Was it rideable? It was. Then I raced back. Paula was okay, but she was scared, and I don't blame her. But I did blame myself. Paula realized something was happening to her. Something more was needed. More help was needed, besides therapy and balance classes. We called our daughter, and she drove up to Lake Geneva and picked Paula up and drove her home. I was able to follow on the motorcycle. After that, we called our doctor, who directed us to another group of specialists and more tests. Something we continued to do many times in the years to come. Paula never got on the motorcycle again. Without Paula, there wasn't much fun in riding. She would encourage me to ride, but without her, I didn't really want to. I didn't want to ride alone, and if I would have left her home by herself, in a big house with steps going upstairs and downstairs. I sold the motorcycle, along with some helmets and saddlebags. I tried to cheer Paula up by saying that when we sold everything, we almost broke even. That didn't go over so well. I never mentioned the motorcycle again. As the months went by, Paula's walking became more unstable. If we went anywhere, even with a cane, Paula would hold my arm. Later it would be a walker, and ultimately a wheelchair. Love and care met mounting challenges. The most difficult days lay ahead in Chapter 6. The decline,